Oh, hi guys, it's me. Nice to see you, not that I can see you. I just thought it'd be quite nice to do a little video of me analysing the opening scene of Singing in the Rain, just so you can sort of see the key parts I'm going to look at and just sort of be a bit different rather than getting you to do all the work. I might set a challenge later on where if you wanted to do your own analysis video and send it in, that'd be more than happy for that. Maybe have Danny do some teaching again, maybe, don't know. And then we're going to watch the opening scene and then we'll discuss cinematography and mise-en-scene in particular, because it's really important in this film, especially this opening sequence. And then I'm going to talk a little bit at the end about costume. So yeah, I hope you're all well and let's get going. Okay, so starting it off with the MGM lion, that famous logo, obviously MGM known for making its successful musicals. We then got each star being introduced with the back to the audience as if they're on stage. You've got the sort of bright saturated colours, that kind of unnaturalistic background with the fog, almost as if they're in a studio, and then the sort of bright yellow max. The idea of sort of spontaneous singing, carefree attitude, etc., etc.
Okay, and then there's just a nice little establishing shot there of the theatre in downtown Hollywood. It looks almost sort of illustrated, like it isn't quite real. The idea of Hollywood being like a dreamland. I put the unattainable tinsel town, as that's what it was called in the 20s. And then Dora Bailey kind of tells us exactly when the film is set in 1927 and the protagonists that we're about to meet as well. So they're known as the big movie stars. And then next up, we've got that close-up of the magazine cover with Don and Lena on the front. So we immediately know that we're waiting for them. They are the stars, the sort of the Hollywood couple that people want to be. Then the spotlight, that kind of iconography of stardom and fakery surrounding Hollywood, all eyes on them. And then finally, the character Zelda sort of strutting the catwalk there. She's sort of like that it girl. She's got her flapper dress on, so it's the 20s, and sort of this crowd screaming her name. And then I just wanted to briefly talk about this sort of long shot, but it's also a reverse tracking shot as the camera is kind of like moving backwards as the characters are walking towards us on the red carpet. Very grand costume, incredibly kind of over the top, theatrical. Audiences at the time would have found this completely amazing because they wouldn't have seen garments quite like this before, remembering that it was in the 1950s. Okay, so just something to think about to do with costume. So then we have Cosmo's entrance, which is kind of a disappointment for the crowd. As you can see, they kind of sigh when they see that Don isn't with them, and then there's that awkward silence as he approaches the reporter. She introduces him, but obviously he doesn't even get a chance to speak before they see that Donna and Lena are about to arrive, and the excitement ensues, lots of screaming from the crowd. Also, just to quickly say that Cosmo's costume is very muted, so he sort of blends into the crowd as opposed to standing out. And then when we finally meet Don and Lena, they kind of emerge through a sea of sort of adoring fans. You've got that one woman fainting, you've got the man trying to shake his hand, and all the photographers, the paparazzi. Then their costume as well, sort of white standing out. No one else is wearing white here, so it kind of really makes them sort of seem like the ultimate sort of power couple, dripping with diamonds, Lena there, and her fur as well, like connotations of luxury and wealth.
So, really quickly, I found this lovely book in my attic, and I got this years ago as a present. I'll bring it into school because it's amazing. It's got some brilliant sort of images and lots of sort of interesting things to do with the costume, especially in the sort of Hollywood era of Singing in the Rain. So sort of spanning from the 1920s to 1960s, really sort of interesting. And then obviously how they were sold on, because there was a really amazing costume exhibit at the V&A Museum in London. So just a quick little look there. So there's obviously Singing in the Rain, and they're not the most exciting costumes. Actually, the three main protagonists aren't as incredible in terms of costume as Lena's costumes are. Obviously, that opening scene we just looked at with the amazing white coat, and then obviously the opening with all of the other stars that come before Lena and Don and Cosmo. They're just sort of dripping in sort of grandeur, aren't they, with all the sort of sequins and it being very over the top and theatrical. Okay, almost sort of like sort of unreal kind of. It reminds me a little bit of Cruella de Vil, one of the women that show up at the premiere. And they were all designed by Walter Plunkett, so note that name down, Walter Plunkett. And he was incredible when it came to costume design for MGM in particular. So he'd work on loads of the big MGM musicals. Obviously, MGM, again, we talked about this, being that sort of pioneer studio of the big five Hollywood studios that were trying to really produce these incredible musicals. So same thing with Arthur Freed being there for producing all of the big musicals, An American Paris, Singing in the Rain, and The Wizard of Oz, of course, as well, which came much before. Okay, so just like a little sort of brief history lesson there on costume, but I'll make sure I bring this book in September so we can have a look at it.
So just to summarise our learning from this video, I want you just to remember that the opening scene really gives us an insight into 1920s Hollywood before the talkies, okay? So how the stars were idolised by the fans, probably more so than today. It's sort of a treat for the senses. Think about how a 1952 audience would be so impressed by the mise-en-scene, particularly the costume. And it sets up the narrative perfectly and shows us the characters and what they're going to represent in the film. So I hope you found this video useful, my lovely film students. Let me know on Teams, on chat, whether or not you have. Give me some feedback and try and give it a go yourself. Adobe Spark is a really easy editing tool online that's free, so you can make your own video analysis of a sequence from Singing in the Rain or any of the films we've studied, just for something to do, and then you can share them with our class. And yeah, I hope you're all doing really well, and hopefully I'll see you soon.